Hey everyone, Sparks back with another Goddess Victory Nikke video, and it is time to do some testing for Aid. I have been testing her for the last couple hours. I've been doing multiple runs with every team, and then I'll show you guys the best run with each of those teams in this testing video. Aid is good, okay? Spoiler alert, she is good. Some of the results of the test might surprise you though. They surprised me, but overall, she is good, okay? So just, that's the TLDR right there. All right, let's get into the tests. So our first test is setting a baseline with Mari. Now, a lot of people might not have Mari because she was a collab unit with Ava, but she is a unit that I think is very directly comparable to Aid, and she is a very good unit, but not necessarily the best unit, but she does make it into a lot of raid teams, and she is someone that I like a lot personally. They're both sniper rifles, they both give the attack buff. I think this is a very good comparison, and we included pretty much all our Pierce DPS units. So Red Hood is a super good Pierce DPS unit. Summer Dorothy, who a lot of players will have even if you're new because she just happened, has Pierce. And then Alice is the one that basically everybody should have, is a classic Pierce unit that is still a very, very strong DPS. So we're going to see what our total damage is here. We got just over 5 billion. And we'll also take a look at the individual stats. I'm going to record these numbers, and then we're going to compare these to a few other notable Burst 2 units with the same Pierce DPS unit. So the next test will be with Grave, and then Crown, and then finally Aid, and we'll see how she stacks up. After that, I'm going to use non-Pierce DPS units and see if Aid, you know, is still good. I think a big part of her kit is increasing Pierce damage, but she does give just a normal attack buff, and so could be decent just with any DPS potentially, but we'll compare her with whoever did the best in the first test. And then after that, I'll just show you briefly like how my Aid is built. Honestly, you don't need a lot of investment in her. All right, so now we got Grave coming in with the substitution, and honestly, I do want to point out that this is not a team you would typically put Grave on. Generally, you're going to put her with the MGs, so just keep that in mind. If anything, this test is going to be favoring some of the other units. But hey, Grave is a Pilgrim. She's really good. Typically, she does slightly better than Mari, but they're very, very close. Grave, honestly, is not like some insane OP unit. She's very good, but we can see the team did, like I said, slightly better than Mari's team. So we did 5.6 billion as opposed to almost 5 billion exactly. This is kind of what I would expect. And we are getting, what? Just a little bit more with Red Hood. We're getting pretty much the same with Dorothy, and slightly less here with Alice. And I think Grave herself is doing a little bit less than Mari. So, you know, again, very similar results. The important thing is, how does this actually stack up to Aid later on? But before we do Aid, we're going to take a look at Crown, who is definitely our queen slash king of any squad you put her on. Okay, let's see what the king can do. We can already see the damage counter is going way above anybody else's, although the gap isn't like super enormous. So we're getting, what, 6.3 billion compared to Grave, who did 5.6, and Mari, who did basically 5 even. If we take a look at the individual stats, Red Hood is doing the same as she did with Mari, actually slightly less than with the Grave test. Dorothy is doing more than she did in any other time, and Alice is doing slightly less. So we're just getting like a way more damage here with Red, or not even way more damage, but just more damage, and just more damage overall from like our supports as well. So I mean, no surprise here, Crown was going to be the highest damage total. But now the moment of truth. Let's see, can Aid keep up? Okay, this is it, guys. This is the Aid test, and damage is a little disappointing. Can we tick over 5? Oh, we're so close to hitting 5 billion. No, we can't. 4.9 billion. So this is actually the lowest score that we've gotten so far. Although effectively it's like exactly the same as Mari. So if we take a look at the scores here, let's see. Red Hood doing, what is this? 2.2. So compared to 3.3 with with Mari, 2.5 with Grave, and 2.3 with Crown. Dorothy is doing 1.5 billion, which is exactly the same as Grave and Mari doing 1.5 billion, and both of those as well did 1.7 with Dorothy. And then Alice, I mean, you know, she's just kind of there, never bursting, right? But she's doing 3.48 or 348 million, which is more than with Crown, actually, but less than Mari and Grave. And of course, our total damage here is on the low side. Again, very, very close to Mari, but, you know, effectively the same here. But even then, Mari is the lowest test we've done so far, okay? So this might seem a little disappointing, but keep in mind, these are like the best burst 2s that we have already, and my aid is less invested, and I'm going to show you that right after we do one more interesting test. I want to see how much she relies on the Pierce buffs, so we're going to use some non-Pierce DPS units and do a damage comparison there. Now this team might look like a really random team, and it is, but the point is we're using units that don't have Pierce, and we're just going to see the damage comparison of this team versus with aid instead of with Crown. So it doesn't matter if this is really like a good team or one that makes sense. We're just not using Pierce, and you know, whatever the damage is, we'll compare it. So I like Eve, Noir's a bunny, that's what we're going with, and Modernia is like a standard off-burst DPS. All right, so we got 9.1 billion damage, and we are getting crazy performance from Eve here. We're at like 4.9-ish billion, and then we're getting 400 million from Noir, and Modernia is at 1.8. But we got total of 9.1. Okay, so we're going to do this exact same test, and then I'm going to use aid instead of Crown, and then I'm going to see what the percentage difference is between these two teams and what the percentage difference was between aid and Crown on the previous test with Pierce. All right, this is our final test with aid. You can see the damage is less than Crown. I mean, no miracles were going to happen there, right? That should be obvious. So we have 7.2 billion damage. And just for curiosity, let's see, we got like, yeah, 3 point something less with Eve. Same with Noir, more or less. A little less with Modernia. And this just overall, like Crown was doing more damage than aid herself, so that makes a big difference there. So now I'm going to do a little bit of quick math here and see how much her Pierce benefit was actually important. Okay, so when we used the Pierce DPS units with Crown and with aid, Crown did 22% more damage, or the team with Crown did 22% more damage with our Pierce DPS units. Interestingly enough, with aid here, when we used the non-Pierce units, so using units that did not have Pierce for our DPS, we did 20% better with Crown versus aid, okay? So again, 20% better with Crown with no Pierce, and 22% better with Crown when we had Pierce, which is really interesting. This kind of implies that the Pierce benefit isn't really doing that much. Now, this is pretty unscientific. You know, I only did a couple of tests here, but that is very surprising to me because I would have thought that the Pierce benefit would have been a lot more important for aid than it is. Because like if we look at her skills here, it says, okay, gains Pierce damage up for all allies, 15% for 5 seconds, and Pierce damage up here for all allies for 10 seconds. But ultimately, that's not really contributing a lot. And I think the thing is here that even though that's like significant Pierce damage buffs, the Pierce damage compared to other types of damage, the total damage, the elemental advantage, the just straight up normal like attack value, is just a very, very small component of the equation. So that's why it's not really that significant. Now, you know, again, this is pretty unscientific. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on why we didn't get more benefit for using our Pierce DPS units, but I just thought that was kind of interesting to talk about. As far as my build here with Aid, you can see I only have 2 overloads on her. The lines honestly don't matter. This would be fantastic for DPS, but you know, Aid's doing almost no damage herself anyway. And then some kind of random ones over here. And then I gave her the Adjutant Cube so we can get those full charges off quicker, and skills are all level 7. I think this is a very reasonable level investment that most players should be able to achieve. And then she's just got a level 0 blue collectible over here, and her affection is up at 9. We got no limit breaks or anything like that. So, you know, relatively, you know, like I would say medium level investment on Aid here. The thing is, you know, she doesn't really need a lot of overloads. Like this is scaling off of like, you know, base attack here, for instance. And again, she's not a DPS, so like, you know, molding for like more elemental lines or whatever, like kind of doesn't really matter. So I wouldn't really stress. I think you're going to get, you know, good performance out of your Aid, even if you only pull 1 copy of her. I think if you are going to try and do well in solo raids, Aid is absolutely a unit you want to grab. But keep in mind, she is not a limited unit, and we do have the Resident Evil collab coming up, and I know a lot of people are already saving for that, even though we don't have any real timeline on when that's going to happen, but that is worth considering. So, you know, Aid did worse than every other unit. Does that mean she's bad? No, not at all. Again, I have lower level investment on Aid than I do on basically any other unit that I tested here. So like Mari here is full overloads. She's got her skills. The burst is up to 10. Grave is actually one of my lower level of these, surprisingly, but still she has all overloads, all max skills, 1 copy. I mean, I guess that's like comparable to Mari, maybe even more. Crown is the one that's like really juiced, right? Like I got her on core 5 and like everything, even the boots are up to level 5. This is all 10, maxed out, collectible, etc. So anyway, just keep that in mind. I think, you know, if I got Aid completely invested, she would probably even slightly pass Mari because she's just slightly behind her right now. And, you know, then she's going to be like just barely below Grave at that point. And we never expected her to do better than Crown. So I think Aid is very, very good. I hope my explanations on like why I was testing the things that I was testing and, you know, how these things can actually be applied to the real world were helpful. I thought it was also interesting to point out, you know, kind of like the Pierce benefit or not much of a benefit there as well. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I tested these for quite a while, and Aid looks great. She's a very good unit. Again, if I put in like any other burst 2, Aid's probably going to be higher than all of them, right? These were against the best of the best. So feel confident in pulling for Aid. You don't need to invest a ton in her unless, of course, you know, you're trying to get high score in raids, then you're going to want to invest in her. I'm going to finish building my Aid as well. I just don't have the resources at the minute. So, yeah, subscribe for more nikke videos, more testing. I will be doing pulls for Milk and testing her, of course, when she comes out. Also making Silver and Blood videos. I am an official nikke content creator, so a sub would greatly help the channel. Thank you, everybody who is already supporting me. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.